Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tour de Greaves cycling show. I'm Andrew Greaves. The show is, as ever, in association with SportsAid and the Rayner Foundation. Absolutely delighted to welcome to today's show Clara Koppenburg of Rally Cycling. Fair to say you've had a decent last couple of races, Clara, but you've got a bit of time off now. Thank you so much for coming on the show. First of all, how are you? We mentioned there a couple of good races. You had the Thuringen Tour, which you've just finished, and Burgos before that, fourth on general classification. How do you think your season's going so far?
I think I had quite a bad and rough start. I started racing really late. My first race was Flash in the middle of April. And all the girls in the peloton, they had already a few races in their legs. And I suffered like hell. Seriously, it was too hard because I didn't race for about 8 months or something. And yeah, I was first a little, frustrated or disappointed with my race performance. But yeah, it is what it is. And then with every race I did, it slowly came back. And already in Burgos, I could feel from day by day that it goes a little better. And yeah, I could finish the last stage quite nicely, and it paid off that I had some patience and that I kept on working hard. And also in Thuringen, so I only had between Burgos and Thuringen, I only had a day off. That was my travel day, and then even in Thuringen, I could feel that my performance, that my level is getting better day by day. So that was really motivated, and now I'm just looking forward for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been a strange year in any case with obviously the pandemic, the global COVID pandemic, but your 2020 was disrupted even more with
Oh yeah.
the kind of very, very abrupt end of Équipe Paule Ka.
Mm-hmm.
What just talk us through that? I mean, suddenly you had this team of girls basically unemployed. You signed for Rally quite late. I mean, that's not perfect preparation for anything, is it really? And you mentioned there 8 months off. What was going through your mind when that whole collapse of the team was unfolding?
It was really, really hard, I think, because we were a really nice group of girls. We all committed to each other. We gave everything. It was just such a unit. You could feel it on the bike, but also off the bike. It was impressive, I think. And we also had so many good races, and it was just such a nice team. And then suddenly everything collapsed just because of money and sponsors and stuff, which is so sad for us riders because we were like a family. And that was really, really hard. And everyone, and suddenly all like 12 or 14 riders were there and were searching for a new team. And then it was kind of a fight to find something, because even then it was, I think, in the middle of October, and most of the teams were already full. So it was quite hard to find a team. And I was in contact with many teams, but in the end nothing really worked out. And luckily in the end of November, I got back to rally, and they had a spot. And I was just super lucky and really happy that they gave me the chance to join their team, even if they were actually also already full and they didn't wanted to have a European rider. But in the end they said yes. So I was just, I was so happy to get the team. And it was also a nice experience, or it's a nice experience for me to join an American team, because the philosophy and everything is a little different than normal European team, and it's going really well so far, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, you mentioned there, the kind of the difficulty in finding a team. I guess, very rarely do you see kind of that many riders who are at a really, really good level suddenly becoming available. What would you
Yeah.
have done if Rally hadn't have come? Did you have any other options other than Rally, or were you kind of thinking almost post-cycling career?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it to just, enter into the season and do a few races, maybe with the national team or some local races, or as a stagiaire or something, and then see how it goes from there, and hope for another team the coming year. That would have been, I think, in the end, the plan. If it really would not have worked out, yeah, I think that would have been maybe the only option. Yeah.
You mentioned rally and you mentioned joining an American team. I was reading an interview with you where you said, you'd always wanted to join an American team
Hmm.
because of that outlook and things like that. How does it work? I mean, I guess you're kind of a bit of an outlier being a European rider on that team,
Hmm.
but rally do a lot of, a fair number of European races and things like that. What's the kind of connect between you and the team? With it being kind of an American team as opposed to being a European team, are you constantly in contact with them?
Hmm.
Is there a service course in Europe as well for you?
Yeah. In the beginning of the year, I think it was a little like they really tried hard to also get me over to join their training camp in March, but it was just not possible with the visa and because of COVID situation. And there I was, of course, a little sad because yeah, if everyone is having a training camp in the United States and everyone get to know each other and stuff, it's a little sad if you sit alone at home. But then they could offer me the possibility to join the men's camp in Spain, and that was already like great because yeah, it was really fun to just join a men's team. And yeah, when they come over, it was just nice. They were so welcome, and they were just, it felt like I know all of them. The Americans, they're so open and friendly, and if I was like, okay, I'm already part of this family, this is great. And of course, it's different because then they're here in Europe for about 2 months or something, and now they just traveled back to the United States for a certain period, and then they come back for a couple more races. I hope that they come for many more races, but let's see. And otherwise, yeah, we are just in contact, and we do some Zoom calls or stuff. But um, it's so just by if we are not together at the races, the communication is the same. Like if I would be in a European team, I would say there's no difference. Like we all like text each other and call or something. That's really great to see, and they're super supportive. They're like always checking in on me, how I'm doing, and if I need anything, they're gonna send it immediately or something. And I really hope that in August or September that I can travel to the United States and do there some training camps or some races. That would be ideal, but I'm still working on my visa.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
big process, isn't it?
it is.
Looking at kind of your start with rally, I mean that rally team and that as an organization is massively successful in both the men's and the women's, and certainly a lot of the kind of graduates in the men's team. What was it like kind of joining the men's team? I know we see Annemiek van Vleuten joining the men's team at first Mitchelton and then Movistar, but what was it like kind of being with the men's team? Is there a good kind of join up between the men's and the women's team at rally?
I think it was super fun. I never joined a men's team before, and of course, riding was so different than if you go with women. It's actually quite fun. They just have so much fun on the bike, and then they do some funny challenges against each other. And but they were really like open to help me out, and they were always like cheering me up. And sometimes I think they just said it, but they're like, oh my God, you give me such a hard time on the climbs, Clara. Don't go so fast. But I think they just wanted to make me feel better because I was sometimes really suffering like crazy. But it was just fun, And I didn't do all the trainings with them because some of them were just too hard. If they did about 200 Ks of motor pacing behind the car, I just saw the plan. I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm doing my own thing. But it was totally fine. It was a good mix of group rides and some lonely rides by myself. That was good.
I wanted to touch, if I can, on kind of your journey into cycling. I'm kind of quite fascinated by Germany's relationship with cycling because obviously, we know Germany is a country that has produced some fantastic cyclists. But I guess at the time when you were growing up, it was a bit of a kind of a period where perhaps the German media didn't do very much on cycling after the kind of T-Mobile Telecom and the doping scandal. I know for years the Tour de France wasn't shown live in Germany. How did you get into kind of racing your bike, and what was the process? Did you have family members who introduced you, or was it just something that you discovered and took on from there?
Okay, also to be honest, I was never into cycling. I had no interest at all. Sometimes my dad took me to a little mountain bike ride, but I didn't like it at all. It was too hard, I think. But I did a lot of different sports, a lot of track and field and stuff. And due to some injuries, my dad just said, "Okay, let's just try, and I will put you again on the bike, and I will just try to show you how nice it is actually." So I just started with about 17, 18. So and also the whole like cycling word, I wasn't interested at all in it. I was just, when I was on the bike, I was just, okay, I'm going to ride my bike and that's it. And then my dad, he was a doctor for the track team, and I could join the race in Colorado. So I traveled with him and the team through the race, and then suddenly it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. That's an amazing lifestyle, to be a pro cyclist, and you travel around the world and you suffer with your teammate. It's a team sport. I had no idea that it is a team sport. And then I told my dad, okay, I want to do the same. And yeah, I joined a little local team, and then actually it was Liane Lippert from DSM Cycling. She showed me how to race, or she brought me into racing. She was my biggest idol. And I was like, oh my God, this is cool. So, and we did some training camps together, and yeah, I did a few local races. And already the year after, I signed with the Cervelo Bicla team in 2000, I think 15. And from there on, everything just went really fast. I did my first races with them, and yeah, from there on, I just learned race by race, and now I'm here.
Wow. So you're a very late starter in terms of,
Yeah.
only really getting into it in your later teens, and then
Mm-hmm.
the success that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously known as as a climber. So I think when you were saying the rally, the rally men's team were saying perhaps were making you feel better by saying that you were leaving them on the climbs. You are known as a fantastic climber.
Mm-hmm.
We've obviously got the Giro coming up, the Giro Rosa coming up. That is known as one with lots of good punishing climbs. Is that a target for yours kind of going forward? I know you've got nationals first, and then the
Yeah.
Giro Rosa.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been waiting every day that they publish the courses, and now I think today at 12 or something they published everything. So I'm really excited for it, because the last 2 years I missed it due to some injuries, and I'm still like, I think if I have a good run and if I have the team around me and stuff, I can definitely finish on a really high level. And a big dream would be once finishing the Giro on a podium, or have a good stage win or something like this. And yeah, I think I can do it, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's a beautiful race. I think this year it's going to be more in the north of Italy, which is it's actually super nice there. And yeah, I'm excited about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it is a race that your previous team has had success in. I know Lizzie Banks has been successful in that race, and
Yeah.
I guess as well, there's going to be live coverage, we believe, this year, live television coverage. It looks like that is taking a step forward as well in terms of women's cycling, and the Giro
Mm-hmm.
Rosa becoming that grand tour that the women's peloton really deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a little sad that it's not a World Tour race this year, but I think in the end, apart from points, it doesn't change anything, because in Italy, the cycling like philosophy is so big, and they're gonna be, even through COVID, probably many spectators, and it's gonna be anyway. Like, it's still like the Giro Rosa, it doesn't change if it's a World Tour race or not. And I think there's going to be a lot more, like you said, a lot more TV coverage and stuff. So I think it's super nice, because actually women racing is so intense and so nice to see, because it's so much shorter than the men races. It's just like there's everything all the time, something happens, there are so many attacks, and it's not that we let a breakaway go out for 12 minutes and then the rest of the bunch is just chilling out. It's not going to happen. There's always something going on, and I think it's super nice for people to watch women races. And of course, it also brings up women cycling even more, and we also hope for more sponsors, and just everything grows, and that we can inspire more women to ride their bikes.
Yeah, I always find it really interesting, the kind of the dynamic of women's cycling. I think you hit the nail on the head in that it is so intense for that. You know, the classics are much more intense. You know, in terms of you know, the stage races. There's just something going on in every single race. Are you surprised that kind of it has taken a long time for the coverage and the sponsorship perhaps to catch up, when actually it's a completely different product to the men's sport, and one which probably lends itself, you know, slightly more to a more modern way of thinking from a sponsorship point of view?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a question or not. I can just agree.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying. Do you think? Are you surprised at how long it's taken for sponsors to realize how good a product women's cycling is?
Yeah, I'm surprised about that, because I don't know why it took so long, because it is so interesting and so intense. And yeah, but like in many other sports, it is unfortunately like that the woman sport is just not as popular as men's sport. But yeah, you know, in the end, we shouldn't be sad about it or frustrated. We should just still enjoy it, and because in the end, we do it for us, and not for the TV or anything. And it's nice if there is support and if we get more sponsors and more like TV coverage and everything. But in the end, race doesn't change anything. You know, it doesn't change something in the race, and we are happy if it grows, but if it doesn't gonna stop us. You know, so.
Definitely. And just finally, what are your hopes kind of going forward? You mentioned the Giro and, you know, getting on the podium at the Giro, getting a good, you know, with a chance of getting a stage win. Looking kind of ahead beyond perhaps even this season, what are your kind of hopes and dreams for the kind of rest of your career?
I mean, I'm still like really hoping and dreaming about the Olympics. It's not official yet if who's going for Germany. We have 4 spots, and I really, you know, I gave everything to get a spot, but I don't know yet. So once in my career, I would like to be an Olympic athlete, and if it's not this year, then it may be 2024. And in general, yeah, like a big goal is forever the Giro, to have a good result there. But also, I mean, for some people it's maybe not big, but I would love to be once a national champion. I think it would be super special for me to wear a whole year the German national jersey. Already every time I'm racing with the national team, I don't know, I'm feeling so proud just wearing the normal national kit. I'm like, oh my god, I'm representing my country, you know, I'm representing Germany. That's so great. So already if I just start at yet now with Thüringer Rundfahrt or even European Championships or World Championships, it's always a super special feeling. So winning once the nationals would be a massive dream for me. Even bigger, of course, World Championships. But I think, yeah, that's a little too far away to think about.
Never say never, as we always
Yeah.
say. Never say never.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. It's been
Thank
fantastic
you.
chatting to you, and wish you all the very best in both the nationals, which are coming up. We mentioned the nationals, and then also the Giro and the rest of the season. Hopefully, we'll see you in Tokyo as well. But
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.